everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Tabatha Anderson and I'm with the Gilboarden Public Library, and I am going to be doing a program called Baking with Kids. So this is our first program where we're doing it on Facebook for the baking program. Usually we would do these in person, but we thought since it's a great opportunity, we can do this while you guys are at home. So I'm in the library today, so I hope that you are joining me at home. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of information about some things we have going on before we get started. So we have a lot of really cool programs that are happening every single week, including Baking with Kids that we are doing right now. And we also have STEAM programs that happen on Mondays and on Tuesdays. And those are on Zoom, so you can register on our event calendar and get more information about those programs. We also have a ton of different things happening throughout the week for families and story times. There's also a program on Thursdays called Kids Explore, where we look at a different topic each week and explore that. All of those programs for elementary students are on Zoom, and you can register on our event calendar. You can look at our story times here, and of course you can join in for the next Baking with Kids program on October 29th from 4 to 4:30. We're going to be doing some chocolate chip pumpkin spice cookies, so those will be really fun. But today, thank you for coming. We are going to be making everybody's favorite treat, Rice Krispie Treats. And so I'm going to walk you through how to do that at home with your kids. And if your kids are joining right now, awesome. We are glad to have them here. So like I said, my name is Miss Tabatha, and I'm in the Kids Space Department at Gilboarden. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to be making Rice Krispie Treats. I printed out the recipe of the Rice Krispie Treats from the Kellogg website, so you can follow along with me there. I will be reading off the directions so you can follow along with me. So some kitchen supplies that you will need are the following. So you're going to need 1 cup, a measuring cup. That's just 1 cup. And you're going to need a oven mitt because it'll be hot coming out of the microwave. We're going to need a spoon and a spatula. You're going to need a bowl, and then you'll need some marshmallows and Rice Krispies. If you don't have these brands, that's okay. You can use any brand. And finally, you'll need some butter. So I have just bought some half sticks of butter. So if you have a whole stick of butter, that's okay. We're going to use just a little bit of it. So also we need a microwave. So how are we going to cook it? So we're going to use a microwave to cook all this, and we will also be putting it in here to get cool. So once you have all of those materials, we go ahead and get started. So we are going to get our ingredients of our marshmallows first and our butter. So go ahead and grab those things. So I'm going to read to you exactly what we'll need of each of the items, and then you can get them while you go ahead and gather them in your kitchen. So the first ingredient we'll need are 3 tablespoons of butter. The second ingredient is 1 package of marshmallows, mini marshmallows, or 4 cups of those marshmallows. And then the final ingredient will be 6 cups of our Rice Krispie cereal, or any type of cereal that is this rice kind of shape. I've also heard somebody use Special K before, and that's turned out pretty good. So you could test it out with different kinds of cereal if you don't have Rice Krispies at home. All right, we are going to be doing the microwave instructions because we don't have an oven in here. But if you have an oven at home and you'd like to use your stovetop, you can go ahead and use your stovetop at home. So the instructions for using your stovetop are the following. In a large saucepan, you're going to melt the butter over low heat, and then add the marshmallows slowly, and then stir until it's completely melted. Then you're going to remove it from heat, add your Kellogg Rice Krispie Treats, and then stir until it is well coated. So then you're also going to use your buttered spatula and put that into our pan for it to cool, and then you can cut it after about 15 minutes. For your microwave instructions, follow along with me. We are going to take our butter and we're going to measure it. So a lot of butter, it's kind of cool that they do this because otherwise it'd be really hard to figure out exactly the ingredients you'll need without a weight scale. So it's really cool that they write it out on here. They put tablespoons on your butter pack, and so we are just going to be counting 3 tablespoons. So if you have a full stick of butter, you should have how many tablespoons? How many tablespoons should that be? That should be 8 tablespoons. So you should have 8 tablespoons of butter if you are using a full stick. I am using a half stick of butter, so how many tablespoons do I have? That is 4 tablespoons. That's right. So we are going to be using only 3 of these. So how many will I have left if I only use 3 of my 4 tablespoons? So 1, 2, 3. How many do I have left? Just 1. If you are using a full stick of butter, you are going to have how many tablespoons left? So if you use 3 and we have 8, so 1, 2, 3, how many sticks of, or how many tablespoons are left? It's going to be 5 tablespoons. All right, so let's measure that out. I have let my butter sit out so it's a little bit softer. It doesn't really matter which way you go. You can do that, or you can use butter that has been in the fridge. And I'm going to use my spatula to help me cut it. And I'm going to plop it right in my microwave safe bowl. Now keep that butter close by, and while you still have some on your spatula, go ahead and just wipe it around because we'll be using that in a little bit. So go ahead and set that aside. And what I like to do with my butter is separate it a little bit, so then when it melts, it kind of gets on our marshmallows in a nice way. So then I'm going to grab my marshmallows, and it says to use 4 cups or a whole bag. Do you think that there are 4 cups in this bag? Should we test it out instead of just dumping the whole thing? I think we should. All right, so let's go ahead and count out how many cups we have. Ready? So we've got 1 cup, and for cups, it's really nice to be able to make sure that they are leveled off if you're using something like flour or sugar or something that would really affect your ingredients. But for marshmallows, it's okay if it's kind of coming above the cup. So that's 1 cup that we just measured. Now let's measure our 2nd cup. Whoops. Okay, let me grab those that fell. So we've got 2 cups. Now I'll show you how much do we have. Do you think we'll be able to get 4 cups out of this or more? So that's 3 cups. And that's 4 cups. Look how much left we have. All right, let's see how many we can get. Now that's 5 cups and maybe 5.5. So that's a lot. Now I wonder if they were melted, if they would have taken up the same amount of volume in our cup that the full non-melted, the solid marshmallows did. Do you think that they might take up the same amount of space if they were melted than if they were solid? It's an interesting thing to think about. Okay, so now that I have all my marshmallows in here, we are going to put it in the microwave. So the instructions say to put it in the microwave for 3 minutes, but instead of putting it for the whole 3 minutes right away, we are only going to put it in for 2, and then we're going to stir it on up. So make sure you have your spatula that is buttered ready, and you can put a little bit more butter if you have it on your hands. And we are going to go over to our microwave and pop it in for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to come right back and we'll do some measuring for our Rice Krispies. Okay, so now that that is getting all melted, I'm going to open up my Rice Krispie box and we're going to do some measuring. So we need 6 cups of our Rice Krispie in our bowl. And I don't have a second bowl, so you can use a second bowl at home. I'm just going to use the pan and then just transfer it after that's done. So let's count out 6 cups of our Rice Krispies. And for this one, you want to be a little bit more exact because, well, if you're like me, I really like marshmallows that are ooey and gooey, or I like Rice Krispie Treats that are ooey and gooey with lots of marshmallows. So I always make sure to use just the right amount of Rice Krispies because I want more marshmallow. If you like them a little bit less gooey from the marshmallow, you can add more Rice Krispies. So that's 1 cup of Rice Krispies. How many do we have left? So if we need 6 total and we have put 1 in, how many do we have left? 5. All right, so here we go. Here's a 2nd cup and a 3rd cup. Now I've seen somebody use Fruity Pebbles for the Rice Krispie Treats. That sounds really good. I love Fruity Pebbles. So that might be another one to try. Oh, I lost track. Is that 3? I think that was 3. So this is going to be 4. Got distracted with Fruity Pebbles. So this is 5. All right, and I have 1 more to go. Okay, 6. All right, so I've finished measuring, and you can kind of see how much Rice Krispie you're gonna have when you have put it in your pan. So do you think it's gonna get bigger than this or smaller than this when I add my marshmallows and my butter? We'll have to see, won't we? We'll see. All right, I just heard my marshmallows and my butter. The microwave just went off, so I'm gonna grab my spatula. Oops, actually first, I'm gonna grab my oven mitt because I know it's a little hot coming out of that microwave. So if you have a grown-up who's with you, make sure you ask them to help you pull it out of the microwave just because it might be a little hot and might hurt your hands if you pull it out. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. All right. This is my favorite part of putting marshmallows in the microwave. Look how giant they got. Isn't that amazing? It's so cool. All right, so you're gonna grab your spatula that's already been buttered and you're gonna stir it around and mix your butter with your marshmallows. And if you're using a buttered spatula, see how much it comes off of there? So that's why we are buttering our spatula first, because we don't want the marshmallow to go onto the spatula. We want it to go onto our Rice Krispie. So once that is nice and stirred up, I'm just gonna use my finger to wipe it off, but you could use a spoon if you don't want to touch it. It's not super hot, but it is a little warm. Okay, oop, and I got marshmallow all over me. So I'm gonna remove this glove, but at this point, you might wanna wash your hands or after you put it in the microwave again, just because they might be sticky. So I'm gonna pop it in the microwave again for 1 more minute. And then it will be ready for the Rice Krispies. So now is a good time, if you want to, you could either write in the comments and say hi, or you could go wash your hands after you got all that goo on you. I am going to take my butter and wipe it on my spatula again, so that way I can get ready for our next step. All right. There we go. So now that is all buttered, and you just have to wait a couple more seconds. So let's see. Oh, another program, actually I should tell you guys about this. We have a brand new program that is going on this fall for kids. And so if you really enjoyed the summer reading program, as I know many of you do, with all of the activities and all of the things that you can do on there with the badges and stuff, you can register for our school year reading program that just started on the 5th of September. So that's a really cool opportunity if you can't get enough of reading programs and you want a little extra incentive or some rewards for participating in the reading, for reading, because you're probably already doing. Oh yeah, thanks. I think it looks good too. All right, so let me grab this out of the microwave here. And I'm glad I left my mitt over here because I would have grabbed it out. So now it's going to be a little ooey and gooey. And this is actually, I've only made Rice Krispies in the microwave once or twice before. And so it's actually a lot cleaner than doing it on the stove, I find. Just because you don't have as many bowls or as many pans to clean. So that's kind of nice. So once it comes out of the microwave, you're just going to do another little stir to make sure your butter has mixed well with your marshmallows there. And I like to kind of push down on the marshmallows. This bowl is hot, so if you are with kids and you're making it with kids, make sure you're using oven mitts, or maybe your grown-up does this part because it is a little bit warm. Okay, so now I'm going to take all of these Rice Krispies that we have measured 6 cups of, and we're going to put it right into our bowl, okay? Whew. I was nervous that I was going to drop some of those Rice Krispies, but I didn't. That's always good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the bowl around and then mix this together while I move the bowl. And the reason why I move the bowl is just because it allows me to grab spots of marshmallow instead of, you know, me walking around the table. It's a little easier to grab spots of marshmallow that you might have missed. And like I said, this bowl might get hot for you, so maybe have your grown-ups do this. And you don't want to put your hands in there to mix it because, again, it's pretty hot. All right, so once that has been pretty good, it looks pretty good and it's kind of getting harder to mix up, you are going to transfer this over to your pan. I'm going to use my oven mitt to hold it up just because it's still hot. All right, so let me put this in the pan and I'll show you all what it looks like inside my bowl. So there's still a bunch of Rice Krispies all in my bowl. So what I like to do is go around with my spatula again and just push it down on the side. And it just kind of scoops up some of that Rice Krispie there and gets it off the side. And then I can put more of it in the pan. So I'm going to just move my bowl around to do that. Again, it's just a little easier for me instead of moving my body around the table. I like to move the bowl. And that's one of those things where I feel like you kind of get, as you cook more and more and bake more and more, you kind of get your own way of doing things, or you get comfortable doing something and your body just makes decisions and you don't even think about it anymore. All right, so got one last little goop. All right, so now I've got all of my Rice Krispies in this container. Now, if I just let this sit and cool, it would probably be okay, but it wouldn't be very pretty and it might fall apart. So instead of just letting it sit like this, you can take a spoon or you can take your spatula again. I suggest, again, buttering it up. There's a lot of butter involved in this recipe, huh? So you're going to take your spatula then, and you're just going to squish your Rice Krispies all around the pan, just like so. And you don't want to go too hard, and then when you're finished with that, you can use your hands because it's cooled down a little bit. You don't want to go too hard on the Rice Krispies because you don't want to squish them all and maybe make them into a powdery. But you do want to make it kind of, I don't know, squish it down just enough to where it's not going to fall apart when you eat it. Because that's the worst, when you're halfway eating a Rice Krispie and half of it just falls down. I might be the only one that's experienced that, but all right. So there we go. Give you a close-up view to see what it looks like. See how squished it looks. So now we are done with making the Rice Krispies, other than we're just gonna let them cool. So the recipe says to let it cool for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and then you can cut it up and serve it. So in the meantime, because I know you're all probably really excited to get started to eat them, we're gonna read some books, so passes the time a little bit. So let me come on over here, get my books. All right. So the first book I have is called Marigold Bakes a Cake, because this is a kid's book program, or a kid's baking program, right? So we need to read some books about baking. All right, so Marigold Bakes a Cake. There we go. And this is by Mike Malbrough. Marigold Bakes a Cake. Marigold liked everything just so. His fur was always well groomed, and his calendar was sorted well in advance. Mondays were Marigold's favorite. What do you think he did on Mondays? Let's find out. Because Mondays were for baking. Alone. No distractions, no exceptions. And Marigold loved to bake. It says, no visitors, it's Monday. I don't know if I like baking alone or not. I think I like doing it with somebody else. This particular Monday, Marigold wanted to bake a cake that was absolutely fur-shreddingly fabulous. He had plenty of ideas, but it had to be perfect. Cake amazing! With his snazziest recipes sorted, snipped, and clipped for their most exquisite bites, Marigold was ready to begin. First, he separated 3 egg whites and whipped them up in a large mixing bowl. Easy. Next, he added a cup of milk. Peasy. Followed by the juice of a lemon. Squeezy. Then, Marigold pinched in just a pinch of finch? What? Do you see the tiny little bird? That's not right, said Marigold. Shoo, Mr. Finch, Marigold said. I've no time to chase you today. It's Monday after all, and Mondays are for baking. Marigold politely showed Mr. Finch to the door. He then returned to his recipe, only slightly flustered. He shaved chocolate ribbons with the utmost care and drizzled the batter with 3 swirling spoonfuls of rich molasses before tossing in just a smidgen of pigeons. Oh no, that definitely isn't right, said Marigold. He keeps getting distracted by the birds coming in. What might be a good solution to the birds coming in? We'd have to tell Marigold. Marigold's tail went all poofy. A brief chase was in order. Skedaddle! There's no room in my Monday for pesky pigeons. Marigold returned to his masterpiece a bit more frazzled than before. Crafting buttercream pillars and fondant flowers had a calming effect. He began to hum a little tune before mixing in 3 tablespoons, of loons. Loons? No! With ears pinned back and eyes wide, Marigold leaped about the kitchen on a full-on feline frenzy. Meow! However, his tantrum only made his guests giggle and left his cake rather less than perfect. Marigold was full of fuss. Perhaps a walk would brighten his spirits. Do you think a walk is going to help him? Let's see. Baking is for the birds, he grumbled as he shut the door. What do you think they're doing? Do you see the finch and the loons and the pigeons? Boy, was he wrong about that. Uh-oh. Baking wasn't for the birds at all, but at least they tried. And Marigold recognized a love of cake making when he saw it. So he thought that if baking wasn't for the birds, then maybe he could teach them. That's a good idea. Well, a lot more birds joined this party. Do you see the owl up there and the penguins and even the ducks up here? It's pretty funny. He was wrong about that too. It looks like birds are not very good in a baking class. You guys, I'm sure, did much better. The end. That was a pretty fun story, wasn't it? All right, let's read one more because after the end of this one, our Rice Krispie Treats are going to be done. So let's see what we've got next. So this one is called Dough Knights and Dragons. What does Dough Knights sound like? Dough Knights. Dough Knights. We'll have to see. Dough Knights and Dragons. Here we go. In a magical kingdom far to the east lived a very small knight and a very large beast. One day, while collecting fresh herbs in a glen, the young knight discovered a well-hidden den. It was filled with ingredients he'd not seen before. The lad couldn't resist. He just had to explore. Oops. In a blink of an eye, he filled a large vat with a little of this and a little of that. The pleasing aroma of hot savory stew woke a shape in the dark that soon came into view. Uh-oh. The knight jumped in fright and feared he might be caught, but the beast stopped to drink from the simmering pot. This soup is delicious. Can't you stay, please? We'll cook and we'll dine and we'll share recipes. Uh-oh, what do you think? There was something sincere in the dragon's appeal, so the knight ceased to think that he'd become a hot meal. Let's see. Ooh. The unlikely pair learned that they both liked to bake. They made sea serpent cookies and unicorn cake. Wow, I'd like to have a bite of unicorn cake. I wonder what it tastes like. They created tall castles with sugar and spice, and they stirred up a huge helping of pixie dust rice. Wow. But in that great kingdom so far to the east, friendship was outlawed between knight and beast. When a knight came of age, he was bound by a rule to spear a winged beast in a challenging duel. And dragon was also required to fight, commanded by edict to swallow a knight. Oh no. The upcoming match filled the friends with great fear, for both were required to take part that year. I won't spear a dragon, the knight said. I can't. I won't eat a knight, said the dragon. I shan't. They cooked and they baked and they made a big mess. 5 plates of dessert didn't lessen their stress. On the eve of the contest, they had lots to do. They were bound and determined to bake something new. So they mixed and they measured, they kneaded and rolled. They then cut shapes from dough in a circular mold. They knew this creation could well be their last, and anxiously worked just a little bit too fast. What kinds of dessert do you think they're making? What do you think? They deep fried the dough in a kettle of oil. The dragon's hot breath brought it to a boil. The knight speared a shape that resembled a beast. Then he took a small bite and, oh, what a feast! Yum. The puffy dessert was both scrumptious and hot. but it also gave rise to an interesting thought. I must pierce a dragon with my sword of steel, but the law doesn't state that the beast must be real. And I am required to swallow a knight if he's made of dough. Shouldn't that be all right? So they melted some armor quite shiny and bright for a cast of a dragon and one of a knight. They mixed sugar and flour, shortening and yeast. From the dough they created each knight and each beast. Exhausted, they pushed the scraps into a heap, washed their scraps into a heap, washed their hands, brushed their teeth, and fell quickly asleep. Subjects came the next day from the land, sea, and air to see how each knight and each dragon would fare. When asked who'd go first, the two friends volunteered. The spectators rose, waved their banners, and cheered. The worried contestants stepped onto the field. Then the knight dropped his sword and laid down his shield. "He'll be burnt to a crisp," all the people exclaimed. "We'll win this first round," every dragon proclaimed. But the beast didn't aim at the small helpless knight. Instead, he set all of the cooking alight. The dragon king fumed. The royal king thundered. "What's going on?" the shocked spectators wondered. When the dough knights were done, the beast swallowed a few, then proceeded to cook all the other shapes too. The knight pierced his sword through a dragon with wings. Then he and the beast humbly bowed to the kings. Do you think that was a good idea? What do you think the kings will say? "I speared a winged beast, as the law states, my sire, and I ate a knight cooked with dragon breath fire. We don't understand why we always must fight. We made these together. Please take a bite." So the dough knights and dragons were given a taste. The knights ate them all, and not one went to waste. That's how it usually is in my house too. Donuts don't go to waste. Because of all the heroes, all dueling was banned, and all kinds of friendships soon spread through the land. Henceforth, competitions between dragons and knights consisted of bake-offs and festive food fights. That seems way more fun. The end. That was a pretty fun story, wasn't it? And I hope that you saw that they were making donuts the whole time, which is kind of a fun thing to make together. All right, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this baking program today. And now that these are all cooled, I hope you enjoy your treats. Be sure to check us out. The next time is October 29th from 4 to 4:30. We're going to be baking some pumpkin spice cookies with my favorite chocolate chip cookie or chocolate chips in them. So it'll be really a fun fall treat that will be fun to make together. So we hope to see you then, and we hope that you come to any of our other programs too. Thanks for joining today. Have a good day.